Welcome back to the channel. This is Mr. Chen. And of course, today we will be looking at the 2017 Environmental Science Unit 1 Paper 2 past paper. Alright, so let us move straight ahead. 1A says, define the term ecological niche. Alright, so I'm going to read the answers that I wrote and do a little commenting if necessary. Alright, ecological niche. The role played by a species in the community that determines species distribution. In short, we could just say the role played by a species in the community. Alright, the role they play. Now, in order to know, to be more detailed, which I would suggest you do, alright, you say, for example, how they feed, are they a predator or prey? What level are they in the food chain or food web? They reproduce. What type of habitat do they occupy? All of that now would be an example of the role the organism play in the environment. All right, let's move to 1B. 1B reads, the law of competitive exclusion states that no two species will occupy the same niche and compete for the same resources. Figure 1 illustrates the niches for species A and species B. Let's analyze the diagram here. Furthermore, here they mention the law of competitive exclusion. If you know that what that is, as it states here, is that once the organisms start to compete, eventually one will be dominant over the other, and the weaker species will eventually extinct. Maybe lack of food, because the other species are more adaptive. Maybe hunting. All right, so that's what exclusion means. All right, this diagram here can be represented on the diagram here. However, this diagram is not completely showing you competition exclusion at the moment. All right, this is initially before competition exclusion. So here on this axis, the y-axis, we have the abundance, meaning the abundance of the species, their population size. And on this gradient here, we have this axis here, we have the resource gradient, meaning the organisms, for example, the food that they eat. So this here shows that the organisms are they show the use of the resources by the organisms, this axis. All right, so let's go straight into the question. Question here says, what does the region X represents? All right, we're going to read what I wrote. Region X represents niche overlap, meaning both species are sharing the same resources. So as you know here, that is not competition exclusion. So right here at the moment, competition exclusion is not in existence at the moment. All right, so right here is that species A and species B, these organisms are sharing the same resources. Maybe they are sharing the same hunting ground or the same plant on which they hunt for food. For example, two birds could be hunting worms in the same plant, so they are actually sharing the plant. All right, so both of them sharing the same resources. That's what X is representing here. All right, from here to here, species A is not sharing any resources, and from here to here, species B is not sharing any resources. All right, so let's move on further. We'll explain more as we go along. So keep watching and remember to subscribe and like and share the video, please remember. All right, it says here to draw a similar diagram to show how the niches of the two species will change over time. All right, so this is what will happen over time, period of time. So they will share resources for a period of maybe a short period of time. But as times go on, what will happen is that both organisms will stop sharing resources. For example, the ark and an eagle and the owl, called an owl patu, right? The eagle and the patu. Say they were hunting prey in the day in the same area of land. Eventually, the eagle is more adapted to hunting the prey in the daytime because they might be having better vision. And what will happen is that the eagles will survive more, and the owls, they may not be able to hunt the prey in the day, so they will not be able to get food to carry out their daily activities, so they will be struggling. So maybe in the night when the eagle is not hunting the owl or patu will hunt at the night. So eventually, one will hunt at day, which is the eagle, and the owl will hunt at night. So they stop sharing the same resources. All right, you might be at different places hunting eventually. All right, so that is what will happen. However, as time goes by, what could also happen is that one of them become extinct because of the competition, right? One of the species might be more aggressive, like a lion and the hyena. One might be more aggressive, and eventually one of them die off because they might not be able to catch enough food, all right, to survive. So this now will lead to competition exclusion here. So over a period of time, over a long period of time, you will have competition exclusion. Let's move to the next question. All right, 1C question, part 1 says identify two types of interaction other than competition between organisms in communities. All right, number 1, we have the predator-prey interaction, and number 2, we have symbiosis. Of course, there are different types of symbiosis: mutualism, parasitism, commensalism. All right, let's move to part 2 of the question. It says define one of the types of interaction identified in C1 and use an example to explain how it may influence the population numbers of an organism in an ecosystem. All right, let me read what I wrote. So this is the answers. We're looking at the predator-prey interaction. So predator-prey interaction is a relationship between two species, usually two animals, carnivores or omnivores, where the predator hunts for its food, which is a prey. For example, a cat and a lizard have a predator-prey relationship. If the population of cat decreases due to natural resources, the population of the lizard will spiral out of control as a percentage of their natural predator have been removed. So they will be able to reproduce freely and uncomfortably. So the predator-prey relationship in simple is that if the predator population is high, the prey population will be low. That's how the relationship is. And if the prey population increase, it means the predator population is low. So in other words, in simpler words, if the cats cannot find the lizards to hunt and kill them, catch and kill them, it maybe means that the lizards might be at an area where they are hiding, and so they are able to stay free of the cats, and in so doing they might find food and they start reproduce and they produce a lot. Now when they start producing, the lizards start producing a lot of organisms or babies or offspring. Eventually the cats might find those offsprings. When the cat find those offsprings, they will start feeding off them and the cats will start reproducing because they have that extra food. Now as the cats reproduce and have the extra food, they will start feeding on the lizards. The lizards population will go down. And that's how it will continue. The lizards will find another area, or they will adapt to an environment that the cats cannot find them. They will reproduce again. The cats will come in, find them, reduce their population, and it will continue like that. Yeah, so that's what their relationship is all about. All right, of course, that relationship can be plotted on a graph, right? Right, this is the population density. So on this axis, you have the population density. So here's representing the population size of each organism. So what happened here is that as the prey population goes up, the predator population is down. So as prey population go up, eventually predator population will go up. As the predator population goes up, the prey population is going down. All right, because the predators are feeding on the prey. Eventually, some of the prey might escape to a new environment, start reproducing. They're hiding from the predator, so they start reproducing. Their population go up. As it's going up, the predator might find their location and they start to feed on them, and their population starts to go up, and it will go up and down and up and down. Right, so that's what the relationship is all about. All right, part 3 of the question says, outline the role of adaptation in addressing the interaction discussed in C2. All right, so it says outline the role of adaptation. All right, so in short, let me read what my answer. It says adaptation can allow predators to better catch their prey, or for prey to avoid or protect themselves from their predators. So for their own survival, for example, some prey have adapted to protect themselves using camouflage. Organisms that survive will reproduce, increasing in population size. Adaptation helps the organisms to survive. When organisms survive, they reproduce, increasing in numbers and passing on their traits. So, in short, what did it say? The role of adaptation is that adaptation will basically help the organisms to survive. So, for example, a lion. The lion can sprint. It has sprinting abilities, strong muscles that help it to sprint and short distance. So it can sprint 100 meters in a very fast time. So that's its adaptation ability. It also have very strong long claws and teeth. All right. So the lion is it adapt to catch the predators, the prey, so that it can eat food and survive. All right. So the role of adaptation is really for an organism to survive. All right. Just similar with prey. Some prey they are able to run fast. They're able to hide. Some of them, like the buffalo, they live in herd, so that's their adaptation abilities. So the prey have adaptation abilities that help them to survive, and once they stay alive, they will tend to reproduce. That's what you know. So the role of adaptation is so that the organisms, whether they are prey or predator, they help them to survive, meaning stay alive. And once they stay alive, they will reproduce and able to pass on their offsprings or traits to their offsprings, basically. All right. All right. Let's move to part 4. Part 4 says discuss the relationship between species diversity and ecosystem stability. All right. So I'm going to read what I have. So when species diversity increases, so does ecosystem stability. Stop. This happens because the more complex a community is, the more stable it will become. The complexity of the ecosystem also helps when or if a species undergoes stress. There will be other species there to fill the spot. However, if the system diversity decreases, so does ecosystem stability. This means that diversity within the ecosystem decreases. There will be disruption in feeding relationships that could cause ketone species to negatively affect it. An ecosystem with a limited amount of diversity makes the ecosystem less stable or resilient to changes. All right, so the relationship is this. It's simple. Once there is a lot of plants and animals in the organism, it means that the environment will be stable, meaning an example of instability would be like climate change, meaning a lot of hurricane. When the ecosystem is not stable, which we are currently facing now, we have a lot of climate change, hot temperatures, a lot of storms, a lot of rain, too much rain or too much sun, rising sea levels, soil erosion. All right, so that is when the ecosystem is not stable, right? Now, the more plants and animals you have in the ecosystem, it will be more stable. That's what it is saying. The less plants and animals you have in an ecosystem, the more unstable it will become. All right, that's what it is saying. So, also, as it mentioned here, it mentioned the food chain. So, for example, you know the importance of the food chain is to pass on energy from one organism to the next, right? So, if there are more than one plants, for example, if one plant die out, there's be another plant that the animals can feed on. So that ecosystem will be stable. Now, if there is one plant in the ecosystem and that plant die because of a disease, then all the other organisms will die because, say for example, you have goats eating the grass and the grass die, that one grass die off. Then the goats won't have any more grass to eat or any other plant to eat to get energy and food. So if you have more than one plant, grass, maybe a shrub, a whisk, if the grass die off, then they might have ways to eat, and so the food chain remain intact. All right, so that is what really happened. The more diversified a species an ecosystem is, the more animals and different plants it has, the more stable it will be. It won't change very much in terms of its food chain or climate change. All right, so remember, let's move on. All right, question number 2 says, two groups of students were taken to a natural savanna ecosystem where they determine the distribution of 3 plant species. Group 1 used the line transect method, while Group 2 used the quadrat method. The following results were recorded by the students. Alright, so Group 1 used the line transect method, alright, and Group 2 used the quadrat method. So with the line transect, this method, it just tells you if the organisms are present or not. Alright. While with the quadrat method, it gives you more detail of the plant species. It tells you how many species are, it tells you how much of each species is present. So this result is more detailed than this. Alright. Let's move to the question. It says, explain the difference between the methods used by Group 1 and Group 2 respectively. Alright, as I said, Group 1, it doesn't use a quadrat. It just uses a card line and stakes and tape measure. And so what will happen along the card line, so every meter, they will identify if a plant is there or not. If the plant is there, they put a tick. If the plant is not there, they will not tick. So this is telling you every 5 meters. This is going up by every 5 meters on the card. They will check the card and see if the plant is touching the card or under the card or above the card. Alright? And if it's there, they put a tick. If it's not there, they will put an X. Alright, the quadrat method. So a quadrat is used. So in order to understand this question, you have to first know what a quadrat is. You have to get the experience of using a quadrat. So if you don't, you have to go and look what a quadrat is. So once you know what a quadrat is and how it is used, it gives more detail. So when a quadrat is shown on the plants on the area of study, you will be able to count the number of the plant. You don't just tell you if the plant is present. You will count the amount of plants that is present. Alright? So that is the difference. One, you just tell if the plant is there or not. Second one, which is a quadrat, you count the different plants that are there. Alright, part 2 of the question says, a student decided to use the data collected by Group 2 to estimate the density for species A and the percentage frequency of species B. Calculate the values for each of these 2 parameters using the data collected by Group 2. Alright, so you see, Group 2 is more detailed. Group 2, when you use the quadrat, this information can use to calculate species frequency and species density. Alright, now they're asking you for A and B. Alright, so let's go back. They're basically asking you to know a few formulas and how to calculate using the formula. So of course you need to know the formula, but for density, they ask to calculate the density of species A and B. You need to know what density is and you need to know the formula. Alright, species density, I have the definition here. Let's read. It says species density is the number of species in a sample area. For example, you measure out a piece of land every square meter. So in every square meter, you need to find out how many plants is present there. Alright, so that's what they're asking for, species A and species B, meaning how many organisms are there per a certain area of land. So they didn't tell you what area of land is used. So we're going to just say, for example, they looked at a square meter, which is about 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet of land. So it is very simple. What they're going to do, this is the formula now, is the total number of individuals in each quadrat studied divided by the total number of quadrats studied. So the total number of individuals in each quadrat. So A, let's look at A. Alright, so A, you want to find the total number of species A present. So 10 quadrats were shown. 1, 2, 3, right? 10 times the quadrat were shown on the ground. Right? And when they count the plants, as you can see here, for each row they count the plants. So you're going to add up all of these plants. Each time, each number of plants that were present. So you're going to add them up. 8, 5, plus 4, plus 2, plus 9, plus 11, plus 6, plus 8. And that will give you 53. And then, of course, the quadrant was thrown on the ground 10 times. So you're going to divide that by 10. So what that is saying now is that the answer is 5.3. So what it is telling you is that you have 5.3 species per square meter of land. So every square meter of land, you are expected to find 5 species of species A plant. Alright. Species B, you will do the same thing. You go up, you will add all these plants all of these are species A. 4, 2, we add them 8 plus 10 plus 3 plus 15, 1, 3, and 1. And then you divide that by 10, and you get 4.7 species per square meter. Alright, so when you compare both of them, you see that you have more of species A plants than species B plants. That's what the data is telling you per square meter of land. Alright. With percentage frequency, it's a little bit, the definition is a little different. Alright. Let's go through the definition. It says percentage frequency is the probability of species appearing in a quadrant throw. Is the probability of species appearing in a quadrant throw. So each time you throw down the quadrant on the ground, is there a chance the plant will appear there or not? That's what it tells you. Will it be there or will it be not? How much percentage chance it will possibly be there, or how much chance it will not be there. And this is calculated from your results. Remember, you cannot calculate species density or species frequency without finding out this. So the species frequency is calculated from this. Alright, so the formula, that is what you have to know. So when you're practicing, make sure you practice the formulas. You know them, you have to know them. So a percentage frequency is the number of quadrats in which the species are present. The number of quadrats in which the species are present divided by the total quadrats thrown times 10. Alright, what we know so far is that the total quadrats that were thrown is 10. Alright, how many times species A plant was present in the 10 throw? So let's look at species A. Species A was present here, it was present there, here, present 8 times. It wasn't present in the 3rd throw or the 4th throw. So of course, that's 8. 8 times it were present. So you will have 8 divided by 10, which is times 100, which is 80%. So 80% of the time you throw the quadrant, you're expected to see species A appearing. That plant, if it's a plant, you will see. No, not if it is a plant. When you do the quadrant method, you're trying to find the population of plants. It's used for plants, really. For B, how many times B were present in the throws? Let's go at B and look. It was present there. It wasn't present in 10. So it's 9 times out of the 10 times it was present. So you would 9 divided by 10 times 100. So 90% of the time you throw, you will see species B. Alright, so you can see if you compare both of them though, the density and percentage, you see they are different. In this one, species A, you have more plants than species A overall. But this, in terms of percentage frequency, it shows that almost you don't have a lot of plants, but almost every time you throw, it will appear. This plant, you will see the plant. It's not as much as the species A plant, but almost every time you throw this quadrant is so spread out in the underground, growing. Every time you throw it, you will see it will more appear than species A. It's telling you that species A is frequency for species A is that in some areas you will not see it any at all. While with species B, only a few areas you will not see it. Alright, let's move on. Alright, part 3 says the result in table 2 show a type of interaction between species A and species B. Use the data in the table to explain this type of interaction. Alright, so let me just read what we have and then we can go up and explain. So species A said species A and B may have a parasitic relationship. You know what parasitic means, meaning one will live on the other, benefiting while the other is not benefiting. Alright, so species A and B may have a parasitic relationship. In the quadrats 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10, the number of species A in quadrant is higher than species B. And when the number of species A is low, the number of species B increases. In quadrant 3 and 4, where species A is 0, species B has the highest number of organisms than in any of the previous quadrants. So first of all, you have to know that when you use the line method and the quadrant method, it is used on plants, recording the number of plant species present in the area. Okay, it's a sampling method. But this method is not for animals; it's for plants. So you have to look at the relationship plants may have. All right. So it's not a predator-prey relationship or anything like that because not animals. All right, you have to remember that. All right. So it is saying when species A, the number of species A is up, species B is down. When species A is 0 as here, you see that species B is very high. So it means when one plant is dying off, the other is surviving. When one is surviving, the other one is dying. So I would say it's a parasitic relationship. All right, let's move to the next question. All right, B1. Describe how the data in table 1 and 2 may be used to provide information on the distribution of the 3 plant species. All right, provide information on the distribution of the 3 plant species. Let me read what I have. So table 1, you know that the line transact method was used. So table 1 can be used to show the distribution of the plant species from one community to another, as well as the possible straight movement of the plant species. Each organism found at each respective distance can show how much the plant species occupy that species distance. All right, so you can use it. You can use the line method to show you, for example, how the plants are growing as it compared to being close to a river or far from the river. You can use the line method to show you. So you carry the experiment near to the river versus plants growing far from the river. You just draw a line, and you can use that method to show to help you to tell you, are these plants growing close to the river or are they not growing close to the river? You can use that method. With table 2, it uses the quadrant method, and it's, let me read what it says. It says it can be used to show the number of plant species in an area of study, the frequency of the plant species, as well as the percentage of the area that each plant species occupy. Because the plants are stationary, the quadrant was perfect to estimate the abundance of each species. And also you can work out the evenness of the species too. All right, so the quadrant method is used to tell you, you can determine if you have more species diversity, for example. So the line method cannot tell you the species diversity. And remember, if you know the species diversity, then you know that the more diverse the species are in the ecosystem, the more stable the ecosystem will be. But this method will tell you, it will help you to calculate species diversity, unlike the line transact method. All right, so you have to just know those two, the difference between the two and their purpose. Next part question says, explain 2 ways in which human activities can disrupt the integrity of natural ecosystem. All right, when it says integrity, it means that without pollution or disruption. So when the environment is okay and safe, it is integrity. All right, when you have right amount of sun, right amount of rain, times not too hot, you don't have a lot of storm, the breeze is nice, you don't have air pollution, water pollution, you know that the environment is as its integrity, safe and healthy. All right, anyway, it says explain 2 ways in which human activities can disrupt the integrity of the natural ecosystem. All right, one is the use of fertilizer. So let me read. Addition of fertilizer may cause plants to grow uncontrollable. If a specific plant species population is uncontrollable, there won't be enough herbivores to eat that plant and the ecosystem is not able to function normally. You can have water pollution. An example would be human using land to create recreational enterprises. Water pollution. So you can have what is called eutrophication. When farmers use a lot of fertilizer, a lot of that fertilizer is leached out into rivers. You will have overgrowth of plants in the river. The fish and other animals will die off. The water becomes stagnant. That's water pollution. So it loses integrity due to the use of fertilizer. Another way it loses its integrity is that human using land to create recreational enterprises, making buildings and businesses. In order to do this, human have to clear the land, destroying natural ecosystem. So clearing of land can lead to soil erosion and species extinction and they're disrupting their home. That is also another way in which it loses its integrity. So when ecosystems are disturbed, they become unstable. Some organisms within an affected ecosystem may leave their ecosystem to another in search of better conditions that negatively affect the ecosystem they are going to. They have habitat destruction, right? So remember, if the ecosystem is destroyed, the environment will be unstable in terms of food chain and climatic conditions.